Before you begin this unforgettable journey, welcome to Nordic Love Stories. Subscribe now for more emotional frontier romances where courage, love, and destiny meet. "Stay where you are," a warrior shouted, raising his spear toward the stranger. The dusty cowboy slowly lifted both hands, refusing to reach for the revolver at his side. Before anyone could move, a young tribal woman stepped between them and spoke words that froze every soul in the valley. "No one will harm him. He saved my life." The warriors lowered their weapons, but no one knew that this single moment would awaken a promise hidden for nearly 20 years. A promise powerful enough to unite two people who were never supposed to meet. The autumn sun spread across the endless frontier as Daniel Brooks guided his tired horse through a lonely canyon. For years he had worked as a horse trainer, traveling from ranch to ranch without ever calling one place home. His father had taught him that a good man was measured not by the land he owned, but by the kindness he showed strangers. Daniel carried those words everywhere he went. As he crossed a shallow creek, a frightened scream echoed through the rocks. Without hesitation, he rode toward the sound and discovered a young native woman protecting two frightened children, while three masked horse thieves surrounded them. Daniel jumped from his horse, using only a long rope and quick thinking to distract the attackers until they fled into the hills. The woman had suffered a deep wound on her arm, but refused to leave the children behind. Daniel gently cleaned her injury with fresh water, wrapped it with clean cloth, and stayed beside her until help arrived. Soon, a group of tribal riders appeared. Their leader, an older warrior with wise eyes named Chief Red Hawk, quietly listened as the children explained everything. Instead of treating Daniel like an enemy, the chief thanked him and invited him to the village as an honored guest. Daniel accepted only because he wanted to make sure the injured woman recovered safely. As they entered the village, curious faces watched the stranger with cautious eyes. Some smiled with gratitude while others whispered with suspicion. One warrior never looked away. His name was Stone Bear, the strongest protector of the tribe, and he believed every outsider eventually brought sorrow. Daniel felt the weight of those silent stares but remained respectful. That evening, the village gathered around a large fire. Food was shared, songs filled the air, and the woman Daniel had rescued slowly stood before everyone. Her name was Elara. She looked at Daniel with calm determination, took one confident step forward, and spoke words that silenced the entire gathering. "The man who saved my life carries an honest heart. I asked the council to let him stay until the next full moon." Gasps spread through the crowd as Stone Bear tightened his fists. Chief Red Hawk slowly rose from his seat, his expression impossible to read. Daniel suddenly realized that his journey across the frontier had just become something far greater than he had ever imagined. The following morning, the entire village gathered beneath the tall cottonwood trees as Chief Red Hawk addressed his people. "The stranger will remain with us until the next full moon," he announced. "During that time, his actions will speak louder than any promise." Some villagers welcomed the decision, but Stone Bear remained silent, his sharp eyes fixed on Daniel. The warrior believed trust had to be earned through sacrifice, not words. Daniel accepted the chief's decision with humility. He never tried to impress anyone or force friendships. Instead, he quietly helped wherever he was needed. He repaired broken fences around the horse enclosure, carried water for the elders, and spent hours calming frightened horses that no one else could approach. Soon the children followed him everywhere, laughing as he showed them how to gently care for the animals. Even those who had doubted him began to see the kindness hidden beneath the dusty cowboy's quiet nature. Elara often watched from a distance. Her injured arm was healing well, but she still avoided heavy work. One afternoon she walked beside Daniel as he brushed a young horse near the river. "You never ask for anything in return," she said softly. Daniel smiled without looking away from the horse. "My father taught me that kindness loses its value when it expects a reward." Elara nodded thoughtfully. "My mother believed the same." They spent the afternoon talking about their different worlds. Daniel shared stories of lonely cattle trails, endless storms, and nights spent beneath the stars with only his horse beside him. Elara spoke of ancient traditions, sacred songs, and the deep respect her people held for the land. Though their lives had been completely different, they discovered that both had grown up believing courage meant protecting others before yourself. Day after day, respect slowly turned into friendship. Friendship quietly became something neither of them could explain, but not everyone welcomed the growing bond. Stone Bear watched every conversation with increasing concern. Late one evening, he finally confronted Daniel near the edge of the village. "You have earned many smiles," he said firmly, "but smiles do not make you family." Daniel met his eyes without fear. "I never came here, searching for a place to belong. I only wanted to help." Stone Bear stepped closer. "Then tomorrow you will prove whether your heart is truly as honest as your words." Before Daniel could ask what he meant, the warrior disappeared into the darkness. At sunrise, loud drums echoed across the valley. A young scout rode into the village with urgent news. A group of traders returning through the northern pass had become trapped after a powerful rockslide blocked the only trail home. Among them were several children and an elderly woman unable to walk. Chief Redhawk immediately organized a rescue party. Stone Bear volunteered first, then looked directly at Daniel. "If you truly wish to help this village, ride beside me." Without hesitation, Daniel saddled his horse. Together they raced toward the mountains, unaware that the dangerous journey ahead would test not only their strength, but also the trust that had slowly begun to grow between two men from completely different worlds. The cold mountain wind howled through the narrow pass as Daniel and Stone Bear reached the massive rockslide. Desperate voices echoed from the other side. Without wasting a second, the two men climbed over the unstable rocks, searching for a safe path. They discovered the trapped traders sheltering beneath a cliff. Several children were frightened, and an elderly woman could barely stand. Just as they began leading everyone towards safety, the mountain rumbled again. Fresh rocks crashed down the hillside. "Run!" Daniel shouted. A frightened little boy froze in fear as a huge boulder rolled directly toward him. Without thinking about his own safety, Daniel threw himself forward, pushing the child clear only moments before the stone struck the ground beside him. Dust filled the air. When it finally settled, Daniel lay injured beneath broken branches. Stone Bear rushed to his side and carefully helped him to his feet. Looking into the cowboy's eyes, the proud warrior realized he had been wrong from the beginning. Daniel had risked everything for people who were not his own. Together they guided every survivor safely back to the valley before nightfall. When the rescue party returned, the entire village gathered around the great fire. Families embraced their loved ones with tears of relief. Chief Redhawk stepped forward and raised his hand for silence. Before he could speak, Stone Bear walked into the center of the gathering. Every villager watched in surprise as the fearless warrior removed the eagle feather necklace from around his own neck and placed it into Daniel's hands. "Today," Stone Bear said with quiet respect, "this man proved that courage belongs to the heart, not to a tribe. From this moment, I call him my brother." A warm murmur spread through the crowd. Then Elara slowly approached Daniel, carrying a small leather pouch that had belonged to her late grandfather. She carefully removed an old silver compass with a faded engraving. Daniel's eyes widened. His hands trembled as he reached into his saddlebag and pulled out another compass that looked almost identical. The same unusual symbol had been carved onto both pieces years before. "My father gave this to me," Daniel whispered. Chief Redhawk gently examined the two compasses before smiling. "Many winters ago, your father rescued my brother during a terrible snowstorm. Before they parted, they divided one compass into two keepsakes as a promise that kindness should never be forgotten." Tears filled Elara's eyes as she looked at Daniel. "The day you saved me, I recognized the symbol hanging from your saddle. That is why I asked the council to let you stay. I believed destiny had returned an old promise to our families." Daniel finally understood that their meeting had been far more than chance. It had been the beginning of a story written long before either of them was born. The following morning, beneath a bright blue sky, the village gathered once more. Chief Redhawk smiled warmly. Daniel Brooks, after seeing your courage, your honesty, and your respect for our people, the choice is yours. Daniel stepped toward Elara and gently took her hand. I cannot promise a life without hardship, he said, but I promise to face every sunrise and every storm beside you with honesty, loyalty, and love. Elara smiled through happy tears. Then I will walk beside you for all my days. Cheers echoed across the valley as friends and families celebrated together. Cowboys from nearby ranches shared food, music, and laughter with the tribe until the stars filled the night sky. Stone Bear stood beside Daniel, no longer as a rival but as a trusted friend. In the years that followed, travelers crossing the frontier often spoke of the quiet cowboy and the brave tribal woman whose compassion united two different worlds. Their story reminded everyone that fear builds walls, but kindness builds families. True strength is not found in power alone, but in the courage to trust, forgive, and love. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Nordic Love Stories, and turn on the notification bell for more unforgettable frontier romances filled with hope, courage, and true love. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.